More than 10 years ago, researchers identified pockets around the world where people live longer. In these blue zones, they found that people reach age 100 at rates 10 times greater than in the U.S. Here to tell us more about these characteristics and how you can be more blue is Meghan McCarthy, Director of Community Health and Wellness for Baptist Healthcare. Good morning, Meghan. I'm so excited that you're here.
Good morning. I'm excited too.
I know, and we're fellow Leapers.
Yes.
I've had a string of Leap classmates on the show, and I think that's great because it shows how connected our community is. It's really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Baptist.
I am the Director of Community Health and Wellness, which means I get to think about how to make Pensacola healthier every day. And those are the things that you may not go into the hospital for acutely, like a broken elbow or a surgery, but the things that keep us healthy till we're age 100. And that's usually nutrition, the healthy living, stress reduction, sleep, all those other things that are really important on a daily basis.
And let me just say, I can attest to that you are perfect for this job because I can remember in our Leap classes, you're the one passing out the healthy snacks. And I remember, I think one day you had edamame and we were all like, can we just eat our crackers? But you're like, no, this is the best option for you. So I think it's really great that you're in that position.
Well, I am passionate about it, but that is the perfect example of that. You know, your environment plays such a big role in you being healthy. So if there's somebody there being like, here, have you ever tried this vegetable or those kind of things, all of a sudden the food out of the vending machine looks a lot less exciting. And so it's really important to have those kind of areas in our community.
Well, let's get to what you're here to talk about, which is blue zones.
Yep.
And, you know, kind of preparing for the show, I did a little bit of research and I was excited. I think this is such an interesting topic. So tell us, what is a blue zone?
Okay. So the blue zones originally started as a project with National Geographic, and they were going all over the world, and they were really interested in these cultures that were living longer. So basically they set some criteria up and they brought in a whole bunch of big brains, researchers and scientists and doctors and all these things. And they were really looking at populations where people were living to 100, and not only living to 100, but living really well and healthy to 100. And there were areas that they had like a 10% increase than other areas, really significant areas. And then they took a look at what did these areas have in common, because there were these little pockets, these blue zones were all over the world. So Japan, Greece, Sardinia, even areas in the United States where, you know, these populations were having just a very different life cycle than we were having. And then trying to look at what they had in common. Now, you're not going to be shocked by what they had in common.
Sure.
What do you think they are?
Well, you tell me. What are they?
Well, there are definitely pieces of things like nutrition, and we know how important that is every day. But sometimes nutrition can be overwhelming and confusing, and so it was really about setting some very common sense guidelines and things to try to do. Obviously, being active, so getting some movement in every day, and not just about, you know, not necessarily, you know, running or things like that, but just the activities of daily life that included more moving. That we've changed so much, especially here in America, that we're very car-based. A lot of times we don't get those movements.
What I was about to say, I imagine one of the huge factors is a lot of these countries, they do actually walk a lot. I mean, just getting from place to place, I mean, that's their major form of transportation in a way.
Yep. And that's so important for preventing injury and range of motion and all of those things. And sometimes I think we think too extreme about, like, you know, going to the gym and things like that. But really, if we can build it in, we're much more likely to do it. So, like, one of the things I always encourage people to do is that to try to use the farthest restroom that they can. So even in your home, or if you're at the library or your community center, your church, or wherever you happen to be, don't go to the bathroom that's really close. Use that as actually a health break. So it's Mother Nature's kind of alarm clock to say, get up and move and take some deep breaths and stretch. And if you can take, again, a flight of stairs there, those kind of things.
One thing I would think of too is in the parking lot, parking the furthest away from the front door, which, you know, some days I have my good days where I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And others like, it's too hot.
No, that's a great one. That is a great one. It's these little things. But if they're top of mind, we're much more likely to do them, especially if your community is kind of supportive of them. So if you happen to be, you know, running to the grocery store with a friend, you could say, hey, I'm going to park in the back of the lot so we can walk in together.
And they might hate you later, but that's the price you pay.
Hopefully not, because, you know, really health is communal. And really hard sometimes to think about it like, okay, I'm making a personal health decision, but really, the community health, how it impacts our environment is really important. And that kind of goes back to whether there's a vending machine right here or if there's a beautiful fruit bowl.
Sure. Well, and I think it's important to also point out, and we're inundated every day with this diet trick and that diet trick, and so, sometimes it can be very overwhelming. Like, what is the best way to do? So I think it's important to point out, it is the little things that are going to make the biggest difference, right? And especially with this process and what they found out with the blue zones.
Exactly. And there isn't one size fits all. I mean, I think we look for this magic bullet in nutrition. It's like, just tell me exactly what to eat. But we're all very different because food is cultural. It's like what food you grew up eating, what foods, you have warm memories about, it's about your lifestyle, what makes sense in your, your daily arrangements, whether you have access to different things. So there's so many variables. So there isn't one size fits all. Obviously, we want to try to avoid processed foods.
Sure.
Anything that's
tough.
Right, it is tough. And so it's definitely not the easier path. And sometimes that's where if we can make the easy choice, the healthy choice, it's a lot more likely to happen. So again, that's the big fruit bowl right there versus, again, a vending machine and those kind of things. And the reason that processed foods, one of the elements of that is that something called trans fat. And that's one of the things that doesn't occur in Mother Nature, and and it's only in those processed foods. So if we can kind of avoid that, it's one thing that we can do to avoid our improve our heart health. But a lot of people don't really love reading nutrition labels and things like that. And so I try to make it very common sense. Like, is this coming out of a bag or a box or a wrapper, or did it come from Mother Nature? And then I don't have to read the nutrition label, because if it came from Mother Nature, it gets the double thumbs up, right? Whereas if I'm getting something that's out of a box, then I need to flip over and say, what exactly am I putting in my body? And so when you think about that, when we go back a couple generations, I always think about, foods like, if it's something that my grandmother wouldn't know what it was, I probably shouldn't be eating it, right? And she's like, what the heck is that?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Right? Just kind of going back to some of those old things. And that's what the blue zones in a lot of areas, much more, their food systems are very different, distribution center. Because we have foods that, tomato that's out in California and just some tomato sauce, and then it's canned out there. It's got to go on a semi-truck across the country. It's going to be on our shelves.
A lot of hands have touched it.
A lot of hands have touched it. And the longer something is, preservatives, salt is added because it's a very inexpensive preservative. But a lot of times we don't want our foods to taste salty, so we add in sugar to cover up the taste of salt. So the longer that something has to last, the more layers of that salt-sugar combination there are.
This is great information and seriously so interesting, and I know people are going to want to know more about it. So they can check out the website and also contact you, which the number's on the screen. But I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
This is great information. Thank you so much, Megan.
It is. Bye.
Bye.